In a shocking turn of events, the truth behind Frank Fritz's death has finally been revealed. In this exclusive video, Rick Harrison and Mike Wolfe break their silence and share the untold story that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about American pickers and the shocking aftermath of Frank's passing. What really happened behind closed doors? Watch till the end to uncover the secrets they've been keeping. Are you ready to face the truth that's never been told? Stay tuned to find out everything. And don't forget to drop your thoughts in the comments. What do you think Rick and Mike are about to share? Breaking news this morning has sent shockwaves through the United States and the global reality TV community. Rick Harrison and Mike Wolfe, beloved stars of Pawn Stars and American Pickers, have confessed in court to being directly involved in the mysterious death of Frank Fritz. Frank, their former colleague and close friend who had stood by them through many on-screen victories, is now the victim in a case that has shaken the public. Initial reports reveal that both Rick and Mike were not only present at the scene the night Frank went missing, but were also deeply involved in the chain of events leading up to the tragedy. Was this merely the result of a sudden conflict, or is it the outcome of a cold, calculated conspiracy? Let's uncover the truth. It's undeniable that Rick Harrison, Mike Wolfe, and Frank Fritz once symbolized a nostalgic America, where value was found in old, forgotten items, each carrying a unique story. Under Rick Harrison's leadership in Pawn Stars, and with Mike Wolfe and Frank Fritz in American Pickers, they became some of the most beloved reality TV stars on the History Channel, averaging over 4 million viewers per episode from 2012 to 2016. However, their rapid success brought about subtle changes. Rick and Mike became sharp entrepreneurs, seizing every commercial opportunity, while Frank, with his simple lifestyle and artistic soul, began to feel increasingly out of place. After Season 7 of American Pickers, cracks in their friendship started to show. According to a former production staff member, Frank became reluctant when asked to commercialize his personal image, while Rick and Mike eagerly expanded their empire with franchise stores and online auction platforms. Their growing ambition led Rick and Mike to view Frank more as a burden than an asset. Internal meetings became tense. New business ventures completely sidelined Frank, and advertising campaigns centered solely around Rick and Mike. Frank could feel the shift. From friends who once shared laughter, they now only communicated with him through contracts and lawyers. A nameless crew member revealed that there were days when Frank had to eat lunch alone in his car. No one invited him. No one checked on him. This isolation gradually seeped into both the backstage and on-screen dynamics, and keen-eyed viewers began to notice Frank's increasingly rare appearances. By 2020, Frank had nearly vanished from the show entirely. While History Channel claimed it was due to personal health issues, the reality was much more complex. Beneath that facade was an underlying struggle, where Frank was isolated and pushed to the sidelines by those who had once called him a brother. In a 2021 interview, Frank bitterly shared, "I wasn't called back. I wasn't asked for my opinion. I'm no longer part of that family." A simple statement, yet it encapsulated the deep pain of someone who once saw his colleagues as family, only to be discarded mercilessly for no longer aligning with the brand's strategic goals. Their rift wasn't the result of a single moment, but the culmination of greed, selfishness, and cold calculations that had built up over the years. Rick Harrison and Mike Wolfe sought to build an empire, while Frank Fritz only wanted to preserve the soul of the stories they once pursued together. When their core values no longer aligned, the tragedy became inevitable. When Frank Fritz quietly disappeared from the screen in early 2020, the History Channel offered a brief explanation. Frank was recovering from major back surgery and needed time to focus on his health. No photos, no press conferences. For the loyal fans of American Pickers, the silence felt like the curtain falling on a familiar stage, leaving countless unanswered questions. At first, the public empathized, believing Frank needed time to recover. But as months stretched into a year with no further updates, compassion gave way to doubt. How could a national TV personality disappear completely without leaving a trace? Fans noticed that Frank was not only absent from television, but had also gone completely silent on social media. His personal Facebook and Instagram, once used to share his treasure-hunting journey, became eerily quiet. Worse still, even longtime friends couldn't get in touch with Frank. A close friend told TMZ, "We texted, called, left voicemails for months with no response. That's just not like Frank." Close sources revealed that before his disappearance, Frank frequently expressed feeling watched and threatened. He changed his phone number regularly, avoided using his personal email, and refused to meet anyone outside a small group of close friends. One insider shared that Frank even hired a private investigator to check if his phone was being tapped. Frank also disclosed that he possessed strong financial evidence linked to suspicious cash transactions between Rick, Mike, and several third parties. He kept these documents securely stored across multiple hard drives and safes to prevent theft or destruction. Frank was not only preparing for a legal battle, but he was also searching for a powerful media outlet to expose the entire truth. An appointment with an investigative journalist was scheduled for July 14, 2022, at a small cafe in Iowa where Frank lived. However, he never showed up for the meeting. About 24 hours later, Frank's neighbors began noticing strange signs. His mailbox was overflowing, the lights in his house were on all night, and his dog barked incessantly without stopping. A worried friend called the police. When they broke into the house, they found dinner left unfinished on the table, a phone discarded on the sofa, and, most importantly, no sign of Frank. The initial police report didn't indicate any clear signs of forced entry or a struggle. However, small details like unfamiliar footprints on the doormat, scratches on the wooden floor, and a missing external hard drive led investigators to classify the case as a suspicious disappearance. Nearly a year had passed, yet the media still largely ignored Frank Fritz's disappearance. There was no large-scale search, no public appeals from his former colleagues, just family and a few loyal friends quietly following the faintest of leads. They even offered a $10,000 reward for anyone with information about Frank, a considerable sum for a middle-class family. It wasn't until early 2024, when a video leaked from the courtroom where Rick Harrison and Mike Wolfe were being tried, that America was truly shaken by the dark truth behind his disappearance. In the video, Rick chokes up as he confesses, "We didn't save him. We let him die." That admission not only shattered the hearts of those who had once adored the TV trio, but also ignited the largest legal investigation in the history of American reality television. It also raised a chilling question. Was Frank Fritz the victim of an impulsive decision, or was he targeted in a carefully planned conspiracy to silence him forever? Investigation documents revealed that Frank held financial evidence powerful enough to destroy the empire Rick and Mike had built over more than a decade. If those documents were exposed, not only would their personal reputations collapse, but their network of sponsors, business partners, and TV networks would also be brought down. Frank never had the chance to reveal the truth. A force of power and greed acted swiftly, silencing the voice of a man who only wanted to tell his story. On the evening of July 13, 2022, the small town of Franklin, Iowa, buckled under the humid summer heat. At the end of the street, in a modest home, Frank Fritz was preparing for a meeting that could change his life. On the living room table, financial documents, photocopied contracts, and incriminating emails were neatly arranged in an old black briefcase. Frank, who had once lived for the thrill of uncovering forgotten history, was now ready to expose the darkest secrets of those who had once been like family to him. According to traffic camera footage, around 8:02 p.m. that evening, two vehicles approached Frank's house, a black SUV and an old Ford pickup truck, later confirmed to belong to Rick and Mike. Both vehicles turned off their headlights and silently stopped about 50 meters from Frank's house. The two men, wearing low baseball caps, quickly approached the front door. Despite interference, the security camera managed to capture blurry images of them. There were no signs of forced entry, suggesting that Frank may have opened the door himself, perhaps out of trust, or not realizing this would be the last time he would see his old friends. From here, the details become fragmented, pieced together from scant physical evidence and a corrupted recording from Frank's handheld voice recorder. However, they are enough to reconstruct part of the tragedy that unfolded that night. The meeting began with sharp words. Rick's voice rang out first, angry. "You think you can do this and get away with it?" Frank didn't back down, replying, "I just want the truth. I've put up with you guys long enough." The exchange quickly escalated. Mike, who often played the peacemaker, was unusually silent that night, occasionally pleading, "Please stop, Frank, we can work this out without causing a scene." But Frank was resolute, unwilling to step back. He was determined to expose everything. According to the recording, Frank declared, "I've sent the documents out. If anything happens to me, everyone will know." That moment marked a tragic turning point. A loud crash echoed through the room, the heavy sound of a body or furniture collapsing. Subsequent audio analysis suggests that Frank was likely pushed, and his head struck hard against the edge of the coffee table. Immediately, Frank's chances of survival began to fade. Instead of calling for emergency help, Rick and Mike panicked and chose the worst option: silence and concealment. Reconstructing the scene revealed that they dragged Frank into the corner of the room, wiped away the blood, erased all signs of struggle, and took the briefcase containing the crucial evidence before disappearing into the night. One haunting detail remained from Frank's voice recorder. After being knocked down during the altercation, it continued recording. In this recording, Rick's voice can be heard whispering, "No one can know about this. We can't turn back now." Around 9:15 p.m., the two vehicles hurriedly left, in the same order they had arrived. A nearby witness recalled the roar of the engines echoing through the night, as if someone was fleeing in panic. Frank Fritz died alone, in pain. The coroner's report confirmed that the cause of death was severe brain trauma. Had Frank received timely medical attention, his chances of survival would have exceeded 70%, but that opportunity was cruelly stripped away from him. In the days that followed, Frank's house became a place that held untold secrets. His phone was unreachable, his email locked, and calls from family and friends only echoed back with cold silence. The only one who acted quickly was Frank's sister, who had previously requested a welfare check after several days of no contact. When the police broke into the house, they found signs of haste: an unfinished dinner, a window left ajar, unfamiliar footprints in the foyer. but Frank and the briefcase containing crucial documents had vanished. It took more than 6 months of relentless investigation for the truth to slowly emerge. Under the pressure of guilt and mounting evidence, Rick Harrison and Mike Wolfe finally succumbed to justice. At the hearing on May 24, 2024, Rick choked up as he confessed, "I pushed him." Mike, in silence, admitted that he had not intervened. They had let Frank die. That admission not only marked the complete downfall of the two reality TV stars, but also confirmed that Frank Fritz's death was not an accident, but the inevitable result of greed, betrayal, and an irreversible mistake. That fateful night not only changed the destinies of the three men, but also shattered the trust of millions of viewers who had believed that, in a world full of deceit, there was still room for honesty and true friendship. Immediately after Rick Harrison and Mike Wolfe officially admitted their roles in Frank's death, the American media was plunged into real shock. The news spread rapidly across all platforms, from print newspapers, cable TV, to trending hashtags on social media. That morning, a 42-second video began circulating across Twitter. Rick Harrison, once known for his mischievous grin on screen, stood motionless in the courtroom, his eyes fixed on the floor. In a hoarse voice, he uttered 4 chilling words, "I pushed him." As Rick Harrison choked out his confession, "I pushed him," Mike Wolfe, standing beside him, didn't deny it. He simply nodded silently, tears streaming down his weary face. Within 4 hours, the hashtag #JusticeForFrank soared to the top spot on Twitter with over 18 million mentions. Keywords like #betraying TV stars, #Mike Wolfe, confession, and #Frank deserved better flooded TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube. CNN, BBC, and a host of international news outlets interrupted their regular programming to broadcast breaking news. Faces once familiar to American viewers now graced the front pages of crime reports. A quick survey by Reuters revealed that 78% of those polled were shocked and outraged, while only 7% believed that Rick and Mike acted in a moment of weakness. The truth has been revealed, and the secrets no one expected have shaken the world. The situation between Rick, Mike, and Frank's death has not only caused a media storm, but also completely changed the way we view American pickers. What do you think about these revelations? Are there more truths to be uncovered? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and share this video with your friends. Subscribe to the channel so you never miss out on the latest updates. The backlash quickly spread beyond social media. Within 48 hours, more than a dozen major partners, from antique stores to publishers, announced they were severing ties with Rick and Mike. Walmart immediately pulled all Pawn Stars-related merchandise from its shelves. History Channel issued a firm statement. "We will sever all relationships with the individuals involved and review our entire personnel vetting process." Unsubscribes flooded Rick and Mike's personal accounts. The official Pawn Stars YouTube channel, once boasting over 2 million subscribers, lost nearly 600,000 within just 3 days. Amid the chaos, Frank Fritz's family refused to stay silent. They held a small memorial service in his hometown of Iowa, drawing thousands of fans, people who had never met Frank in person, but felt compelled to express their grief and outrage. Attendees carried signs reading, "Frank was the last to preserve our faith, and no one deserves to be betrayed like that." The memorial quickly turned into a national gathering, not just to mourn, but also to release a wave of fury. From the memorial, the Honor Frank movement was born, calling for higher ethical standards for reality TV personalities. Within just 1 week, over 350,000 people had signed the petition. Not everyone turned their backs on Rick and Mike immediately. A small group of fans tried to justify their actions, citing mental, financial pressure, or acting in a moment of crisis. However, these arguments were quickly overwhelmed by the weight of the evidence and the near-unanimous wave of outrage from the public. Media analysts joined the discussion. On a CNN seminar, critic Lawrence Steele remarked, "The Rick Harrison and Mike Wolfe case isn't just a criminal trial. It shows how society has too easily trusted the perfectly edited images on television without questioning them." Social psychologists also weighed in. Dr. Samuel Gray of the University of Chicago stated, "This outrage reflects the public's deep sense of betrayal when those they trusted turn out to be nothing more than fabricated characters created for profit." The scandal forced many content producers to reassess their business models. Netflix, Amazon Prime, and Hulu all announced that they were re-evaluating their contract processes and background checks for reality TV shows. Some state legislators also proposed new bills requiring minimum ethical standards for reality TV participants. As for Rick Harrison and Mike Wolfe, the illustrious legacy they had once built completely collapsed. Antique fairs and cultural events quickly removed their names from guest lists. As community events collectively canceled Rick and Mike's scheduled appearances, the consequences continued to spread. A history museum in Las Vegas even dismantled the exhibition once sponsored by Rick Harrison, replacing it with a cold sign that read, "Permanently closed." Faced with severe legal repercussions, the greatest remaining legacy of Rick and Mike was no longer the ancient treasures they had once discovered, but rather a cautionary tale of unchecked greed and betrayal of trust. This was not just the end of two television careers, but the final nail in the coffin of a golden chapter in the history of American reality television. When Rick Harrison and Mike Wolfe were forced to confess in court, the public believed the entire truth had been revealed. But the reality was far more horrific. A comprehensive investigation was launched, uncovering a conspiracy that had silently formed over many years, with Frank Fritz's death being only the tip of the iceberg. Initially, authorities focused solely on Frank's death. However, the scope of the investigation was expanded to include financial crimes, fraud, and a conspiracy to fabricate evidence. The investigative team, working alongside forensic accountants, scrutinized every financial transaction of Rick and Mike. They discovered that over $4.3 million had been transferred to accounts in Belize and the Cayman Islands between 2015 and 2021, the peak years of Pawn Stars and American Pickers. Frank was neither informed nor shared in the profits from most of these transactions. The contracts and documents Frank initially signed were also secretly altered, with some signatures even identified as forgeries through handwriting analysis. Digital evidence retrieved from Mike Wolfe's hard drive revealed a stash of internal emails between Rick, Mike, and their personal legal team. These messages not only discussed how to sideline Frank from major deals, but also mentioned eliminating any threat he might pose. Notably, an email from June 12, 2022, just 1 month before Frank's death, stated, "If Frank goes too far, we need to silence him permanently." The origin of the email was successfully traced by digital forensic experts under court orders. At the same time, a forensic team was dispatched to re-examine Frank's residence. They discovered evidence suggesting a rushed cleanup. Traces of industrial cleaning agents, typically used in laboratories or medical facilities, were found on several surfaces. A laser scan of the wooden floor near the coffee table where Frank had fallen revealed poorly wiped bloodstains, cleaned up hastily, not enough to pass a thorough forensic examination. The most crucial piece of evidence was Frank's handheld voice recorder. Despite external damage, the memory chip inside still stored recoverable data. After hours of data recovery, audio experts successfully extracted 17 minutes of continuous recording, capturing the entire course of the argument, the struggle, and the fateful confession. The most haunting part of the audio recovered by experts was Rick's unmistakable voice declaring, "No one will find you, Frank. We'll destroy you." This statement became a key piece of evidence for the prosecution, transforming the case from a reckless altercation into a deliberate, intentional act. A surprise witness, a former delivery driver for Mike Wolfe's antique distribution company, testified that on the night Frank went missing, he was instructed to transport an important shipment from Iowa to a warehouse in Kansas City without any checks. Although the contents of the shipment remained unclear, this testimony strengthened the theory that Rick and Mike had sought to destroy or conceal the documents Frank had gathered. GPS analysis confirmed that Mike's pickup truck was at the warehouse in the early morning hours of July 14th, just hours after Frank was confirmed missing. As the details slowly fell into place, a horrifying picture emerged. Rick Harrison and Mike Wolfe had not only betrayed a decades-long friendship, but had also actively planned to eliminate Frank permanently to protect the financial empire built on trust and reputation they had created. The investigation further uncovered shady alliances within the reality TV industry. Several senior executives at History Channel were suspected of turning a blind eye to suspicious signs as long as the show continued to profit. One senior producer was even accused of receiving secret payments from Rick to maintain their positive media image. Social media forums were flooded with calls for a complete overhaul of the reality TV industry. A poll revealed that 82% of Americans believed the industry had tolerated unethical behavior for far too long. But above all, what was most haunting was that Frank Fritz, a man who loved simple living and small-town stories, was pushed to his death by those he trusted the most, simply because he dared to stand up for justice. Frank's death was no longer just a personal tragedy, but had become a chilling warning about the horrific price of greed and betrayal. The downfall of Rick Harrison and Mike Wolfe not only ended their personal careers, but also shook the entire American reality TV industry to its core. The consequences of the scandal rippled out like waves, causing a significant upheaval in American pop culture. Beloved shows like Pawn Stars and American Pickers saw a dramatic decline in viewership, dropping by 18% to 27% within just 3 months after the incident, according to Nielsen statistics. Media experts agreed that this was not a temporary reaction, but a collective awakening. Viewers were no longer willing to pay the ethical price for glossy, manufactured content. Major sponsors who once supported Pawn Stars and American Pickers swiftly severed all ties. Multi-million-dollar advertising contracts were canceled within days. Target announced it was pulling all Rick Harrison and Mike Wolfe branded merchandise, stating, We uphold integrity and respect for individuals. The erasure of their image was swift and ruthless. Antique fairs removed Mike Wolfe's posters, and secondhand stores that had once partnered with Rick Harrison completely overhauled their marketing strategies to avoid any mention of them. A quiet but powerful boycott spread throughout the fan community as old DVDs and memorabilia were discarded from view, a desperate effort to erase the memory of a trust that had been bitterly betrayed. Memorabilia once cherished as childhood treasures now gathered dust at yard sales, sold for pennies or discarded like unwanted reminders of betrayal. Yet, amidst the wave of outrage, acts of remembrance for Frank Fritz quietly spread. Across the United States, small antique shops held events in honor of Frank, donating money to nonprofit organizations supporting victims of financial abuse and betrayal. In Davenport, Iowa, a mural in memory of Frank appeared, with a simple yet profound inscription, "Frank Fritz, the Keeper of Forgotten Stories." A scholarship in Frank's name was also established at the University of Iowa, awarded to students studying history and folk culture, values that Frank had passionately defended. His family declared, "Frank may have been betrayed by those he trusted, but his memory will never be buried." For Rick and Mike, they lost not only their careers and wealth, but also the most fundamental trust the public had once placed in them. No apology could atone for their wrongs, no gesture could reverse the destruction they had caused. Their legacy is no longer filled with humorous negotiations or thrilling treasure hunts, but instead has become a vivid cautionary tale. When fame is built on greed and deceit, it can collapse faster than any antique they ever appraised. Frank Fritz, the simple man who only wanted to preserve the forgotten stories of America, has now become a symbol of faith betrayed and a stern reminder that, in a world blinded by money and fame, honesty remains the most precious treasure. The story of Rick Harrison and Mike Wolfe is more than just a personal tragedy. It starkly exposes what happens when fame, ambition, and loyalty collide in a world lacking in ethics. Frank Fritz didn't die simply because of a scuffle on a sweltering summer night, but because greed overshadowed friendship. Because calculated silence replaced the apology that should have been spoken. Because a system encouraged placing personal gain above integrity. Despite later justifications and image rehabilitation campaigns, the harsh truth remains unchanged. Frank's death was not a coincidence, but the cold outcome of countless wrong choices that culminated in an unforgivable crime. The downfall of Rick and Mike serves as a reminder. Fame can build an empire, but it can also crush a person's soul in an instant, under the spotlight where the shadows of greed and betrayal always lurk. Frank Fritz may have remained silent, but his passing serves as an undeniable warning to popular culture. A warning that behind every bright smile on screen, there may lie dark stories that the lights never reach. And in the lingering silence after the media storm, one question continues to echo. Was this merely a tragic mistake or a conspiracy that had been quietly brewing for years? The answer, perhaps, was buried forever with Frank Fritz. If you have any thoughts on this story, share them in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to continue uncovering untold secrets with us. See you in the next one.